Welcome back to another Micmac tabletop review. Today we'll be taking a look at the Ortgies 32 semi-automatic pistol. Here's a fairly good example of the famous Ortgies pistol. This one is the 32 caliber model. These were hammerless semi-automatic pistols that were produced in 25, 32, and 380 ACP versions in Germany in the years immediately after World War I, between 1919 and 1924. So we're talking about an actual antique here. And note that the Ortgies pistols were developed 10 years before the famous German Walther PP and 12 years before the even more famous Walther PPK. I mentioned this because I just wanted to put this beautifully made Ortgies 32 pistol into perspective. I won this one at an auction a few months back. I ended up paying $349 for it, a bit more than I probably should have, but you know how the auctions go. You may also recall my earlier review of the smaller Ortgies 25 vest pocket pistol. I've got it here. The grips show a bit of handling, but otherwise it's in excellent, truly first-rate condition, like it just came from the factory. As for this 32 model, well, as you can see, not quite as nice, but still in pretty good condition for a 100-year-old pistol. And I should say that in my experience, you're likely to typically find most of these large frame Ortgies in more worn condition, at least from what I've seen since I started looking for one a couple of years ago. But Ortgies are known to be rugged, yet graceful, and reliable pistols manufactured with tight tolerances, and as you may have noticed, no screws. From what I've seen, the wood grips are the most vulnerable parts of these pistols, so finding a 100-year-old Ortgies with a good, well-preserved metal finish as well as nice grips is a good find indeed. While Ortgies pistols were relatively inexpensive, they were still considered to be of overall excellent quality, in my opinion. They're also elegant and compact in design. Now, before we go any further, let's make sure this gun is cleared first. And by the way, if you enjoy this review, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. If you viewed my earlier video of the 25 caliber Ortgies vest pocket pistol, I apologize for repeating the Ortgies background information here. If that's the case, you can just skip ahead to the specifications section at 726. Deutsche Werke Ortgies pistols were developed by Heinrich Ortgies, who actually had purchased the original design for the pistol from a German gunsmith named Karl August Browning. Heinrich worked on his pistol while living in Belgium during World War I. After the war, he moved to Erfurt, Germany, where in 1919 he began production of his pistols in his own factory. The first Ortgies pistols were 32 caliber. Later, Ortgies pistols were also made in 25 and 380 auto. The early Ortgies pistols were marked Ortgies & Company, Erfurt on their slide and had circular brass inserts in their grips marked with a stylized HO. The production of Ortgies pistols eventually passed to Deutsche Werke in 1921, a shipbuilding company headquartered in Berlin. So for a short period of time, the slide markings would change several times until eventually shortened to Deutsche Werke Erfurt. All the while, Deutsche Werke pistols continued to feature the H-old brass grip inserts until relatively late in their production, when they substituted one with a new trademark depicting a stylized crouching cat with a long tail forming an S-curve over its back. So given that this particular 32 caliber pistol has the stylized crouching cat logo, we know that it's of later production, probably 1922 or 1923. There were 7 variants made of the Ortgies pistols. Most can be distinguished by their slide markings and serial numbers. Given that this particular pistol has the Deutsche Werke Erfurt markings on the slide and a serial number within the 81,000 and 263,000 range, we know that it's a 6th variant. These pistols were fairly inexpensive for their time, but of very good quality, with what was considered an advanced design, and with high quality construction and relatively few parts, and as I mentioned, no screws. As a result, as an export product, the Ortgies pistols were very popular throughout the Americas, and they were also popular souvenirs with servicemen returning from Europe. This is why you often see them at gun shows and at fairly reasonable prices. Some interesting facts about Ortgies pistols include that the Ortgies 32 pistol achieved considerable success back in its day at contemporary shooting competitions. It is said that Hitler gave his mistress Eva a gold inlaid Ortgies 25 as a gift. The notorious John Dillinger was said to carry an Ortgies. And a remarkable fact is that although the Ortgies pistols were only produced from 1919 to 1924, or just 5 years, over 500,000 Ortgies were produced, and most of those during the final years of production. Ultimately, the production of the Ortgies pistol is one of the victims of the Treaty of Versailles, which would impact all firearm production in Germany, the result of which would close many independent firearm manufacturers throughout the country, including Ortgies, which ended all of its production in 1924. As old as the Ortgies pistols are, it surprised me to find quite a few examples of packaging still out there. Of course, this one didn't come with anything except one magazine, but I've seen examples of the original cardboard box and even an original factory box along with manuals and extra magazine. Holsters were also fairly common, although not necessarily from the period. This is where I try to find movies which feature the firearms I'm reviewing. Again, I apologize for repeating this information for my review of the Ortgies 25, but it's what I have for this section. I did find a couple of films with the Ortgies 32 model, and being an old gun, it shouldn't surprise you that my first film is the 1939 movie Another Thin Man with William Powell and Myrna Loy. And how about the 1978 horror film Dawn of the Dead? It's only a quick shot of an Ortgies in a gun case, but it's there. As for specifications, Ortgies pistols were German-made, striker-fired, high-quality, blowback design pistols. They were made with relatively few parts and well sealed against dirt. Metal components were forged or machined, and assembly in general made no use of screws, even securing the wood grips with a spring-loaded metal fastener inside the magazine well, although some later examples do incorporate a single screw for that purpose. As I mentioned earlier, the Ortgies pistols were made in 25, 32, and 380 ACP. This one is 32 ACP. Barrel length is 3.5. Overall length is 6.5. Height is 4 3/8 inches. Width is about 1 inch at the grips. The finish is blue steel, although there were a few factory nickel finishes produced. Serial number is located here along with Germany as its country of origin. Grips are walnut and are released by an internal spring within the magazine well. The safety is grip deactivated to fire and activated with the push of this button. Magazine capacity is 7 rounds with a heel magazine release here. Overall weight unloaded is 21 ounces. Note that whether 25, 32, or 380, the Ortgies pistols were all of the same design, with a small frame 25 just being a little smaller. Ortgies were not only considered advanced design pistols for their time, they also had some unusual design features. The first was the safety. Here we have a lever safety inset into the back of the grip. When pushed in, the safety is in the off position, but note that it stays in until released by this button. Push the safety button and the grip safety is released and the safety is now engaged. Note that it is the tension from the firing pin spring that pushes the grip safety out from the grip, which also reduces tension on the firing pin spring. When you grip and lock the safety grip back flush into the grip, the safety is disengaged and tension is restored to the firing pin. The other unusual feature is that at least in the earlier Ortgies magazines for the large frame Ortgies, was that they could accommodate both the 32 ACP and 380 ACP ammunition and were interchangeable between pistols of either caliber. One side of the magazine was marked for 7.65 millimeter and featured 7 holes showing the positions that cartridges of that size would occupy when loaded, and the other side had similar holes marking for 9 millimeter short cartridges. Of course, if you buy a modern replacement magazine today, you'll note that they are purpose-built for 1 caliber only. And note the barrel on the Ortgies pistol can be removed by twisting it 90 degrees. It has a T-shaped double lug on the bottom which rotates into a slot in the frame. This design feature allows easy conversion from 7.5 millimeter to 9 millimeter short by swapping out the barrels. As for function, Ortgies 32 is a well-balanced, sturdy weapon that has a notable feeling of quality about it. It has a good feel in the hand. The action is solid and butter smooth. The magazine is high-quality stainless steel and loading is easy. Inserting the magazine is also very smooth. The backstrap safety clicks back into the grips upon gripping the firearm. You can smoothly deploy the safety again through spring tension by pressing the button under the left side here. I have large hands with long fingers, but I can still get 3 fingers around these grips. Everything is very smooth about this old gun. It's very well crafted, smooth edges all around, good weight, well-placed controls, and light action. Compared to my other pistols of this size, the Ortgies 32 has a slim yet substantial feel to it, although the barrel seems long. As a steel and wood pistol, the Ortgies 32 also feels more solid. It has a compact yet full feel with an air of quiet elegance and distinctive quality about it. It's really very, very nice. The magazine loaded easily enough. The magazine fits snugly with a good solid seating, and the slide is as smooth as can be and easy to rack. You can hear and feel the safety disengage when you squeeze the grips. Trigger pull is light with a soft take-up and a short travel to about a 5-pound pull to fire. Reset is very short, maybe a 1/4 inch, with an audible click. Nice trigger. 71 grain CCI Blazer 32 auto rounds prove relatively light on recoil with minimal muzzle rise. We're at the range with the Ortgies 32 pistol. Given the Ortgies 32 reputation for accuracy, my expectations are high. Remember that the Ortgies 32 pistol achieved considerable success back in their day at contemporary shooting competitions. True, this gun is 100 years old, but still it seems in excellent condition, so I should be able to count on its accuracy. With the target moved out to 25 feet, my typical training distance, let's see how we do. Not bad for my first shots. How about moving the target out to 35 feet? Let's see how accurate this gun really is. Wow, nothing wrong with that. This gun feels very capable to me. With a bit of practice, I think I could really improve my accuracy. It's got a slim yet elegant feel to it. Very, very nice. I really like this gun. As for cons, according to reports, because the Ortgies striker is hollowed out, the metal at the bottom of the firearm's striker is very thin and is subject to breakage more than any other part of the gun. And if your interest in the Ortgies 32 is as a self-defense weapon, its ballistics must be considered. Although very well made, the Ortgies 32, even with its great reliability and even good accuracy, just can't realistically compete with today's popular polymer 380 and 9mm pocket self-defense options. Some might say the spring-loaded attachment of the grips to the frame is also a con. But once you know how to release the grips, it's really not a problem. Just use a wooden dowel or a small screwdriver to press the retaining spring inside the mag well down to release the grips. As for pros, well, let me just say, for as old as this gun is, I'm impressed. Of course, it wasn't a surprise because I have the advantage of owning the little vest pocket version of this Ortgies pistol, so I expected a well-made pistol. All I can say is you need to get your hands on one to appreciate the engineering and the design of the Ortgies. They are superbly crafted, smooth all over as well as their function. Parts are still available, accuracy is unquestionable, and the Ortgies 32 can still be found for a reasonable price. And one more thing. This unique safety allows the Ortgies to be brought into action a lot faster than its rival autoloaders with the more common rotating lever style safety. This assembly of the Ortgies 32 pistol is simple, but before we even begin, let me warn you that the striker spring is likely under pressure, so it can launch into oblivion when you try to remove the slide. Two things. Safety glasses are a good idea, and secondly, make sure that you have the rear of the slide covered with your hand or thumb or something during this process. Another trick is to do this with the gun in a plastic bag, or at least cover the gun with a cloth. Trust me on this. The takedown sequence begins with the removal of the magazine and making sure the pistol is not loaded. Then, while holding the pistol in the left hand, depress the safety button with the thumb, and with your right hand draw the slide to the rear about a half an inch or so until it frees up from the slide. Again, use your fingers over the rear of the slide to keep things from flying. In my case, I use my middle finger on my right hand. Now, the rear portion of the slide may be lifted up free from the frame. Remove the follower, striker spring, and striker or firing pin from the slide. And that's basically it. Reassembly is just the opposite, but there is a trick. Note that the striker follower must be pressed back into its groove and locked into the catch to retain the compressed spring assembly. Be cautious because the spring-loaded assembly could suddenly launch unexpectedly. Again, safety glasses can be a good idea. And again, keep your hand or finger over the rear of the slide just in case. Now you can return the slide to the frame. You may also want to see if the internal safety lever is all the way back. This will help make setting the slide down on the frame easier. Return the magazine with a dummy round and test for function. And basically that's it. As for price, True Gun Value currently suggests a value of only about $300 for a used Ortgies 32, and trade-in value was listed at only about $200. Given what I see here with this pistol, that's an amazingly low price, really, but it is what it is. However, real-world sales appear to vary between about $280 and $450 depending on condition. That's a pretty wide range, but I believe that's what you're likely to actually see. For example, what I've seen at gun shows and up for auction have typically been in much rougher shape than this one and selling for about $400 or even more. My advice is be patient, keep looking, and eventually you should be able to land a decent one for a reasonable price. I paid $350 for this one, and I believe I got a good, clean one for a reasonable price. Now, before we end today's video, I'd like to remind you, if you haven't already, be sure to like, share, and subscribe down below. And thanks for watching. Deutsche Werke Ortgies 32 semi-automatic pistols were produced in Germany in the years immediately after World War I. Ortgies pistols were produced in 25, 32, and 380 auto. They were considered inexpensive, yet of very good quality at the time. Ortgies pistols were of tight, good quality construction with few moving parts and no screws. Ortgies pistols also were known for their excellent accuracy. Manufacturing of the Ortgies firearms ended in 1924. So wrapping up, the Ortgies 32 is a superbly made, well-balanced, sturdy weapon produced in Germany for a short period of time just after World War I. I'd been on a hunt for a really nice one for more than a year when I finally came across this one. While showing a bit of its age, especially with these grips, This particular example is actually nicer than many I've seen, and functionally this is really a great little .32 pistol. It's so well designed, perfectly fitted and operationally smooth and very accurate. I own a number of .32 caliber pistols. My favorites have been my 1972 Walther PP, 2011 Beretta Tomcat, and my 2020 Seacamp. These are definitely firearms at the high end of the .32 pistol market. And although this 1923 Ortgies is as old as it is, I'd have to say it really does continue to hold its own. In fact, in terms of accuracy, the Ortgies certainly excels. Now that being said, while the Ortgies 32 could still serve as a self-defense carry weapon today, it probably isn't likely to be chosen as such. Not that a good .32 caliber pistol can't serve in this role, in my opinion. I carry my Seacamp 32 from time to time, but my view is that most people are just going to carry what's most easy to conceal and carry. So smaller, thinner, and lighter pistols are usually more likely to be carried. The Ortgies as a .32 caliber pistol isn't that small or light, so regardless of its age or caliber, it's just not likely to be a weapon that's going to be carried today. But that's okay. Ortgies pistols represent some of the finest examples of early 20th century German design and engineering. To own one is to own a really good piece of firearm history. And here's the good news. These pistols are so sturdy and so well made, even as an antique, I wouldn't hesitate to take this Ortgies 32 pistol to the range for a day of fun. And take it from me, fun they are. Any weapon you carry is better than the one you left at home. Thanks for watching. Hope you'll be back for my next tabletop review. Until next time, stay safe.